This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast.
Cryptocurrency decrypted.
Welcome to episode 59. As you probably already know, Ross Ulbricht was found guilty last week on all 7 charges that he was facing. Today we'll share some thoughts on the trial. Did Ulbricht even have a chance of escaping any charges? We'll also spend some time reading the original warrant for his arrest and considering some tough moral questions. Ulbricht was allegedly willing to have a hacker killed in order to protect the Silk Road's vendors and customers. Christopher Cantwell, a popular anarchist blogger, argues that actions like that are completely justified, and we'll try to decide whether or not we agree. Your hosts this week are Tim Baker, John Stuart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go.
Hi everybody, this is Tim Baker. I'm having to introduce you all again because I know everybody wants to hear my wonderful voice. I'm here with my co-hosts,
Daniel Brown
and
John Stuart.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm actually surprisingly good tonight. It's weird. I had a fair bit of free time today, which was, relaxing and stuff, but at the same time, I feel like I actually got a bunch done, and I'm kind of ahead on some things. So, yeah, I feel pretty good.
John?
Oh yeah, it's a Monday. It's a long Monday. Mondays are always long. I was just telling these guys about it before. No need to go into it now, but
now they're gonna wonder.
Yeah, well, I just have a long day on Mondays always. So.
I don't really think that many people are going to wonder, Daniel.
You never know.
Unless, someone's like, oh, what does John do for a living? They think he's like a male prostitute or something. Then a hard, long day becomes a completely different thing than if you're going to school and working in a factory.
I'm going to stick to my original statement. You never know.
Okay. Anyway.
He could be.
I'm going to answer my own question. I've had a pretty good day, guys. Thanks for asking. And
Tim, I didn't ask.
I don't care either.
And but it went down slowly, partly because now I'm talking to you guys again, and it obviously puts me back into a somewhat of a more negative outlook to my opinion. So I kind of become more bitter, but also that and this is why nobody takes me seriously when something sad happens.
Tim, you're better when you're bitter. I'm just saying.
I know, but then no one, everyone is so weird with me whenever I'm supposed to, when I'm supposed to feel bad because I can't go more than 4 sentences without making some kind of a joke about it. When people die and I just don't talk because it scares people and I feel bad about it. But
okay, I think we're taking this too far.
Let's just go.
No, we're talking about dead people.
Way too deep here.
Okay, we're going back. I am sad now that I was reminded after, I think, did you text me on Saturday, Daniel, about this?
It was last Wednesday is when it happened. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, now everybody wants to know what happened.
Well, no,
so
I know. That's what I'm doing.
It.
I'm building it up, Daniel. You don't know the first thing about podcast. Anyway, that Ross Ulbricht was the supposed founder or operator of the Silk Road online narcotics empire was convicted on all charges, correct? Including the kingpin charge, which adds 20 years and without ability to get parole, and it's normally for mafia dons and big drug cartel leaders, which, I mean, you want to make the argument, it's not that hard to make the argument that he was a drug cartel leader. I mean, he had a bunch of sellers on his market, and...
shoot, who was it? I want to say... Is there a Daryl on Free Talk Live?
Yeah.
When they first started talking about this, the first thing he said was, it was really surprising because I thought his confession was going to get him off.
Why? That's what I didn't get. I saw people like happy, like, oh my goodness, he's doing this. The defense is doing this. What is it going to do? And I'm like,
right.
How is this going to help him?
Yeah, I heard a lot of people, not a lot of people, just, important-ish people on Free Talk Live just saying how his defense just was awful, so...
Well, I heard they were doing well, but everyone seemed like so optimistic, so like I thought I was going to say something about it in the last few podcasts that we did, but then everyone was like, oh yay, I'm like, maybe I'm just going to bring everybody down, maybe I'm not right. And then, because like from the beginning of this, I was just like, they're going to charge him, it doesn't really matter what evidence they bring, they're going to charge him.
Yeah,
He's not getting out of this.
So I'm gonna incriminate myself by saying, well, anybody who watches regularly already knows this, but I basically have no clue what's going on in the news ever. And as much as I didn't know what was going on, I mean, I was still like, pretty much had the feeling that he wasn't gonna get off, and like I didn't follow the case at all. Just it doesn't seem like something that where they would just let him get off.
The main thing was the kingpin charge. That was the whole point of him confessing, was because he thought he could shove off the kingpin on Carpelli's, but that wasn't successful.
He's still gonna get like 60 years. But anyway, yeah, can someone tell me what the hell happened with all of that? With Carpelli's? Like, I'm so confused by that.
Basically, he just blamed Carpelli's. He said Carpelli's was the actual DPR. He said himself, Ulbricht, said that he started the site, but that he gave it to Carpelli's later, and that Carpelli's was the actual DPR who put out those hits and did all that other stuff.
Why would Carpelli's be running two huge empires at the same time? And did they have any proof for it?
Personally, I don't see why that's surprising. I mean, I don't know if I believe it, but it doesn't sound that far-fetched to me. I mean, Carpelli's is an important man who...
I don't care how important you are. I'm talking about the time it takes to do both of these things.
Yeah, I could see that.
With how much stuff you're going to be having to deal with on the Silk Road, with how much you're going to have to be dealing with people trying to take it down, with how much you're going to have to be dealing with vendors, and then on Mount Gox, all the seller changing stuff like that, possibly stealing money. You have to leave time for everything, Daniel.
No, that's a somewhat legitimate thought. And one thing, though, they did say that, and I don't know the actual evidence for this, but they did say that Carpelli's was actually the original suspect, or not the original, but an original suspect.
Yeah,
for a while
he was an operator for one of the bigger things. So was Shrem. That doesn't incriminate. Like, no one says that about Shrem. No one
right, but I think I don't know this for sure, but I think they had some kind of actual evidence. They weren't just like, oh, he's an important person in Bitcoin, he probably ran the Silk Road. No, I think they had some actual evidence, but I should probably stop talking because I don't know that for sure.
Hear it? Because I've never seen anyone post anything about what it was.
About what the evidence was?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Does it never come out?
Well, no, it probably just wasn't that important to people. They just said, oh, he was, they thought he might have been it for a while, so Ulbricht said, I'll blame him. I don't think anybody really cared what the actual evidence was.
Okay. I mean, it just seemed like a weird, like, because again, people were like, oh wow, this is good, and they'll see what happens, and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. I mean, again, they're going to get him for something.
I don't know.
And I didn't even get, like, why they were saying Carpelli's was involved.
He was trying to pawn off the kingpin. That's the whole point. And that's why, now, you can argue whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, but that's why some people were saying that it was a good idea. Because he had the chance of getting rid of the kingpin.
Okay, so there wasn't any particular reason. It was just that
to get rid of the kingpin.
To try. Yeah, okay.
Because that's 20 years minimum out of a current 30 years minimum. So that was the kingpin was 2/3 of the minimum.
Okay, so how does he have life now? So,
well, like I said, the minimum. So it could be life.
Yeah.
Anyway. Somebody wanna hit the story a little bit.
I can keep talking about it if you don't mind. I'll try to not rant about other stuff. So this is the article we've been looking at. It's from Wired. It's by Andy Greenberg, who our last guest mentioned as a reliable source of information about this case as it went forward. It's called The Silk Road Mastermind Ross Ulbricht Convicted of All 7 Charges. On Wednesday, less than a month after his trial began in a downtown Manhattan courtroom, 30-year-old Ulbricht was convicted of all 7 crimes he was charged with, including narcotics and money laundering conspiracies and a kingpin charge, usually reserved for mafia dons and drug cartel leaders. It took the jury only 3.5 hours to return a verdict.
Yeah, holy crap, that's worth talking about. I heard a couple of different numbers. I think I heard 2.5 and 3.5. Either way, that sucks. I mean, they didn't really even think about it. They're just like, all right, he's guilty. Which, again, for most of the charges, he basically confessed. Okay, fine. It still stinks that they didn't at least consider the kingpin charge a little bit. Maybe, although...
But why? If you're asking me... Okay, I'm going to go off on another tangent a little bit, but if it does kind of relate. If you're asking me if he's guilty of all this, I mean, yeah, some of the stuff looked like it did, but then other stuff didn't. But so I understand why they would have. But that was the other thing, was all these people were coming out saying, this was why I didn't understand the Carpellis thing, because like from the beginning they always like, no, Ross Ulbricht, he's not the one, he's not guilty at all. It was like from a lot of people. And it wasn't just that he's not guilty because selling drugs is okay, it was he's not guilty, he's not guilty. And it seemed like a lot of people were saying that. Was that just like an effort to kind of just spread that, or did people actually believe he was completely innocent? That he was some like kind of like fall guy.
Who were you thinking was saying that? Are you talking about when he was blaming Carpellis, or do you mean just even before that he
kind
was...
of like even before that? Like I would just hear, I don't know, a lot of the anarchists I follow on Twitter, or like Bitcoin people like that, or they just seemed very sure of his innocence, and I just didn't really get it. Like they were saying, well, you need to know him. He couldn't do that. I'm like,
I never heard anybody actually say that he was innocent. I never heard that at all. Everybody always says alleged, and I would still say alleged because just you never know.
I said that at the beginning.
But I've never heard anybody actually say that they thought he was innocent. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would try to, especially like what you're saying. If it's just like, oh well, you have to know him. He would never do. That's. You can't say that somebody's innocent for that reason.
Yeah.
Plus, did people even know him, though? Like, they knew him as DPR, maybe, but that's obviously the person you know as DPR is DPR. But did anybody really know Ross Ulbricht before all this? Not that I know of. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like, so what do you mean you had to know him? Nobody did know him as Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah. Because he was just kind of like, it sounded like he was kind of just like a loner, kind of quiet, kind of, so he just didn't talk to people. So how much, is that what you're saying?
Well, no, not even that. I just mean that maybe he was quiet, but that's not what I mean. I mean, people knew Ross Ulbricht and people knew DPR, but nobody knew both, right?
Like the full person. That's what?
I maybe I'm just not explaining this very well, but I just mean like, whoever was saying that you had to know him, they didn't know him. Like I don't know who you think was saying that, but whoever it was could not have known him.
Okay, yeah.
Just because, I mean, I'm sure he had probably external friends who had nothing to do with the Silk Road, and he also maybe had 1 or 2 people who did know who he really was. But I don't think that was whatever just anarchist people that you're talking about on the internet. I don't think they knew him. At least I don't think that's really likely.
And I might not even be remembering it right. It seemed like there was a big push for his innocence.
Right, you're just getting that impression that like people are like, well, he's a good guy, and well, you never know.
Yeah, or like these people are saying like, well, I mean, I get that, like, saying, like, he's a hero, like, if you're coming from where I'm coming from, like, yeah, I mean, man, like, thank you for what you did. But,
right.
like, but he's not, like, but he also did, he created a service, and with that comes some, like, stuff. Like, if he did have to kill someone, I think Chris Cantwell wrote something, I haven't read it yet, about, if he was being threatened with, the guy releasing all the information.
See, now this is a kind of topic that could go who knows where, and it's going to be so hard to even take a stance, but once I do take a stance, I might regret that later. But let's bring that up, because that was a fascinating conversation and just a really interesting topic. I'll let you keep going, because I think you were going to get there.
Okay, let me figure out where I was. Chris Cantwell, okay, yeah, wrote about if the thing with the possible murder for hire thing happened was...
Well, yeah, which we should make it clear that he wasn't even tried for this yet. This is, I think, in Maryland where he's facing these charges.
Oh, that's not even a
that's
federal
not
thing.
even part of these 7 things.
Okay.
So he wasn't found guilty for this. He wasn't even tried for it, and there are no dead bodies, no mourning families, or anything. So
yeah, okay. I mean, I guess that doesn't really change mine too much. But again, it's about this. He's a hero, and if we're just going to talk about it for the sake of talking,
well, right, yeah, that's whether or not he's guilty. This is a really interesting thing to consider. So
yeah, like if in a perfect world, there's no reason for him to have for that even to come up, because.
Wait, I still don't think you've said it right out what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think he's getting there. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was going to jump forward. Thank you. The murder for hire was that a user on the Silk Road said that he had hacked in and had the names and addresses of a lot of the vendors, I believe, and he was going to release those if he didn't get a certain amount of money, and Ulbricht kind of like teased them around with some of the money while he contacted who he thought was a hitman, but turned out to be an undercover FBI agent, I believe. Or it might not have been, we're not sure, because stuff keeps on going back and forth, and he had, allegedly, people, originally they were saying that there was a possibility he'd had the man killed, or the user killed who was threatening to release all the information. What Christopher Cantwell wrote about was that, is that justified? And, like, now in a perfect world, there's no reason to have, you can do this over the internet, but if we're allowed to buy and sell anything, you don't need the Silk Road. You can go down to your local store and go, okay, I want that LSD, I want that meth, or you just go down to your whatever. But that was the stupidest example ever. That was the stupidest example ever. Anyway, but in the situation that is going on now, there is something to be said for protecting because the vendors were technically his customers, and he gave them like a marketplace to set up, and they paid him royalties, they got to keep it, and there's something to be said.
I just want to say, I think you're taking this slightly in the wrong direction, but I'm going to let you finish, and then I'm going to say why I thought Cantwell was saying it was justified. Keep going, but I'm not sure it's exactly what he was saying.
Oh, I wasn't. I was just. Well, I probably should have explained that. That I wasn't saying what the article had written, because I do remember I said that I hadn't read it yet. Just something that it made me think about.
So before I explain, then I didn't read the article either, but I heard him chat about it, so I pretty much know what he thinks. But before I get to that, you were just about to say that there is something to be said for protecting your customers, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that's what I'm thinking. I'm not. Yeah, I don't know idea what he said.
No, that's another thing that's worth talking about. But then here I go. I'm going to try and, obviously I might not understand it perfectly, but basically what Cantwell was saying was these hackers or whoever had this information and was threatening to reveal it were in effect threatening Ulbricht's life, because if that information got out, the feds would know who Ulbricht was, just like they do now, and they would either kill him or they would lock him in a cage.
Well, he wasn't threatening him with his identity.
Maybe not directly, but I think Cantwell kind of was considering the fact
that only works directly, though. You can't be like, well, if you do that to them and to them, then I should. I mean, I guess you can kind of argue. I just would kind of say that's a little bit weak, but you can continue.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Cantwell, and again, I should say this isn't necessarily me. I'm stuck on this, but I think what Cantwell is saying, that either they were more directly threatening, hey, if you don't give us this much money, we're going to say who you are. Or he was saying that if they were doing that. Yeah, I can see why you would think that's a little shaky. And I guess it depends on the facts, like what exactly was their threat. And I just don't exactly know that. But his theory was, suppose that they were threatening to either reveal him or to reveal information that would lead to him, something like that. Suppose that was going on. Well, in that case, again, the feds are either going to kill him or lock him in a cage, possibly for the rest of his life. And that's what he's facing right now. And so they are threatening his life. So should he be justified then to defend himself with deadly force? And
well, yeah, that. It's just if you can argue if that is. I was just saying, like, even if it's not threatening him directly, I mean, I already explained what I said. I don't need to repeat it.
Well, so you pretty much do agree with that then, Tim, that if these hackers, I don't know if they actually hacked anything, but we'll call them hackers, if they were threatening to reveal Ulbricht in some way, even though it would be the feds in some way, that actually messed with Ulbricht's life, even though it would be the feds that did that and not the hackers, you still think he would be justified in putting a hit out on the hackers if they were threatening to reveal him, and which would ultimately land him in prison like it is now?
No, I completely understand why he did it.
Well, yeah, obviously you understand why he did it, but we're asking whether it's okay.
I sympathize with it.
Yeah, I know you sympathize.
I don't know if it's okay.
Okay.
Why are you yelling at me?
Well, because I thought you knew that we knew. Obviously we understand why he did it, but I want to know if you think it's okay, and that's okay. So you don't know, and I don't know either.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing how it could be okay either. Like, if I'm understanding both of the arguments that you guys seem to be talking about. I mean, for one, just, I guess starting with the, like, if it's putting his own life in danger, well, if they like, I don't know, if they hacked into his thing, isn't it his fault that he wasn't secure enough with it? Like,
yeah, but that's like saying if you get raped, I don't like to use that example because that's overused, or I'll use a better example. It's like, it's still not, you can still defend yourself. If you're walking around the ghetto and you're driving around in a nice car and you got nice clothes on, you got money hanging out, and you get mugged, you can still shoot the guy.
But the thing is, though, that he, like,
it's not like he was asking to get the guy.
But if he's doing all this Silk Road stuff, though, that is like, you're knowingly doing something that is dangerous. Like, you don't go into that and expect to not be put in danger. So I don't know, putting a hit on somebody because you weren't careful enough with something that you should have known was dangerous in the first place. I don't know. I don't know if I would say that's justified. I wouldn't, like, condemn that, but I don't really think it's justified. I mean, probably more, I would think it was justified if it was what you were saying, Tim. I think that it was going to put, like, other people that he was putting up for business in danger, not himself.
That's actually something I think about that a lot. Like, when I think about,
we've talked about it before, Daniel. Not on the show, but I think
Right.
you and I have talked about this.
Oh, I know
this
we have.
specifically.
I know we
yeah.
have, and that's why I want to bring it up. When I think about self-defense, now maybe this is a really bad mindset to have because maybe I'm not respecting myself enough, but in a way, I don't even care about myself. Like I would rather the other guy live. Like if this guy's about to kill me, I'd rather say, you know what, you can live. Maybe by me dying, you'll rethink your life or something. I don't know. My point is, I don't really care that much about myself. What would worry me more is if I had a wife and kids, I would do anything. I would do absolutely anything to protect them. So now that's obviously a little different than a customer relationship, but that I do understand what you're saying there, John. It might make a little more sense if he was protecting other people's lives rather than his own.
Well, yeah, because like if he's in charge of it, it's his mistake that led to this, or something that he wasn't careful enough about with, or that he didn't hire the right people to take care of the security or whatever.
Yeah,
so
but
if he's providing a service to somebody and his mistake puts them at risk,
their lives at risk too, not just some random thing, but they could actually be either killed or in a cage for a very significant period of time.
But then on the other hand, if it's his own mistake that puts himself in danger, like, I don't think it's like, I don't know. At that point, it gets really weird to me.
You're still saying, though, that he made mistakes, and
it doesn't matter if he makes mistakes. You can't. That's exactly like saying that you can't fight back against someone if you're.
It's like if you leave your door unlocked and somebody comes in. Well, yeah, you made a mistake and left the door unlocked.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, but they still whoever came in through the unlocked door is still completely wrong in doing that.
But I don't think it's the same. I don't think that's a good analogy, because like I was saying, it's something that you know is dangerous in the first place. This would be like going out into the middle of Africa and like not getting a malaria shot or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you get malaria, it's like, well,
Yeah, but then you're allowed to get cured from it afterwards. You're allowed to fix it.
Yeah, but that doesn't harm anybody else. So that's not a good analogy either. I don't know what a good analogy.
Okay, that's what I keep on saying. Like you walk into I'm kind of yelling. You walk into like a ghetto area, or you drive around in a nice car, and you can say, like, if you're doing it like with the intent to get someone to come after you, so then you can shoot them, then yeah, it's wrong. But that's not even Ross wasn't trying, like, ooh, I can't wait for someone to break in so I can spend a lot of money to have them killed.
Right, that's true. He wasn't.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
I know that's not what you're saying. I'm just saying, I don't know. I think we're arguing. I think we just keep on going back and forth and saying the same thing, and then just saying we disagree.
I think the thing about it that bothers me is that he's like putting a hit on somebody. I don't know, just anything.
Yeah, but
because the thing is, they haven't done anything yet. It's not like.
No,
but they've threatened.
They pretty clearly threatened whether it was him or other people.
But what I'm saying is, yeah, they've threatened him, but that doesn't mean the only way to solve this situation is to kill them. That's what I'm saying. That he's not.
I mean, I know what you're saying.
Paying them for something that they haven't done yet. I guess the thing that is like bothering me about this is like, this seems a lot like what people would say that governments do.
Yeah, the preemptive strike stuff. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like there are these terrorist groups out there, and they say that they want to bomb us or whatever. So we're just gonna like put a shit ton of people over there with guns and just bomb them and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's what it. Like, when you're initially telling me this to me, that's what it made me think of.
It's I don't know if it thinking about it right now, it's very hypocritical. I'm not sure if it is. Like, I could argue that because it's with it's interactions between two people are still so confusing, but it's at least a little bit clearer. but then you have interactions between countries, and it just, like, you don't know what. Like, you don't know if your government just told you that they said they're going to bomb you, or they're, like, clipping parts of audio and just showing certain parts. I mean, they always just show certain parts, but with, like, a personal thing. And it seems like it wasn't just, like, he was saying the guy was going to release it. It was, like, the FBI was saying that the guy was going to release it, and my thing...
Hold on. The FBI was saying that who was going to release what?
That the guy who hacked Ross's thing was going to release the names of the vendors. Yeah.
I do really like... I mean, that's a really good point, John, and that still puts me right where I was before. This is a tough question, and I have no clue where I stand, so...
Well, yeah, and like Tim said, it's way more... It's a different story when you're talking about countries interacting with countries versus just people interacting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is why, like, I thought of that, what I just said, like, the comparison, as soon as we started talking about this, but I didn't really feel comfortable. I don't know. I didn't really want to bring it up, but I kind of had to, because I guess I, like, backed myself into a corner, not really knowing what I was trying to say.
Yeah. You know, with a country, you're right. It can be insanely confusing who's threatening who with what and all that crap. But in this situation, I think it was fairly clear. There was one person, not a country, there was one person or one or two people who were saying, this is what we're going to do. It's just that's it. That we're going to reveal this stuff if you don't give us money. Although that brings up another thought, why doesn't he just pay them? Which I guess he did.
I mean, that's going to be a lot of money. And then you don't know if they're not going to release it anyway.
Yeah. Hey guys, I want to tell you about Wall of Coins, a brand new and very handy service for trading Bitcoin. The platform is designed to enable anyone to get their hands on some Bitcoin. Buyers are quickly connected to an authorized, trusted seller within the Wall of Coins network. Just set a dollar amount for your order, safely pay at a bank near you, and you instantly own more Bitcoin. Buyers don't even have to create an account, so anyone can have access to Bitcoin. Got some extra coin lying around? With Wall of Coins, you can sell it for cash, available immediately in your bank account. Visit wallofcoins.com right now to see just how easy it is.
That was the other thing I wanted to say, is because I know I'm being hypocritical just because I hate snitches about stuff. Like, this is why this kind of moral question even comes up, is because we're involved in some kind of a situation where someone can go and tell mommy and daddy government that someone's doing something wrong. There's something about someone who threatens to reveal stuff and go, like, tattle on someone, like, as an adult, just bothers me. Like, why? Like, even if you don't like the person,
well,
you don't go tattle about them.
I was just gonna say, like, we don't know who the people are that did this either. I mean, it
might not have even happened. No one really knows.
Yeah, but, I mean, for all we know, it could have been... Maybe he threatened them with something beforehand. I mean, that's, like, completely ridiculous, like, just pulled out of the air. But, I mean, we have no clue what the whole situation is. I don't know. And like, the thing that you were saying about, like, going and tattling or whatever, I get that. But at the same time, is it so much more right for somebody to just go put a hit on somebody? Like, it doesn't seem... I don't know. When you put a hit on somebody, it just seems to me like you didn't think about it that much. It just seems like a panic reaction to me. Like, oh, crap, like, I'm in trouble now. Let's just kill this guy.
I mean, what else are you gonna do?
So, I have an idea. I found one of the very first warrants that they put out on him, maybe the first, kind of the main document that got all of this started. It was, I think, October of 2013. This came out, when he was finally arrested and everything. And there's probably about a page or so of the section that describes his willingness to use violence. And so I'm going to read straight through it, because we could easily stop every sentence and have this whole conversation every time. So I'm going to try and read straight through it, and then we'll talk about it at the end, just to give us kind of a bearing. Now, again, this is the warrant, so this is what the cops say. Obviously, this may or may not be true, but again, just as a kind of a starting point to make a little bit more sense of all this, we'll get some more details. So I'll try and be quick. I don't want to make this take forever. So here goes. Beginning on March 13th, 2013, a Silk Road vendor known as Friendly Chemist began sending threats to DPR through Silk Road's private message system. In these messages, Friendly Chemist stated that he had a long list of real names and addresses of Silk Road vendors and customers that he had obtained from hacking into the computer of another, larger Silk Road vendor. Friendly Chemist threatened to publish the information on the internet unless DPR gave him $500,000, which Friendly Chemist indicated he needed to pay off his narcotics suppliers. In one message to DPR, dated March 14th, Friendly Chemist elaborated on the consequences for Silk Road if he followed through on his threat. What do you think will happen if thousands of usernames, order amounts, and addresses get leaked? All those people will leave the Silk Road and be scared to use it again. Those vendors will all be busted, and all their customers will be exposed to and never go back to Silk Road. On March 15th, Friendly Chemist provided DPR a sample of the usernames and addresses and order information. Also, as proof that he had obtained the data from the vendor whose computer he claimed to have hacked, Friendly Chemist supplied the vendor's username and password on the Silk Road so that DPR could verify it. On March 20th, DPR wrote to Friendly Chemist stating, "Have your suppliers contact me here so I can work something out with them." On March 25th, a Silk Road user named Red and White contacted DPR stating, "I was asked to contact you. We're the people Friendly Chemist owes money to. What do you want to talk about?" On the 26th, DPR wrote to Red and White saying, "Just to be clear, I do not owe him any money. I'm not entirely sure what the best action to take is, but I wanted to be in communication with you to see if we can come to a conclusion that works for everyone. Friendly Chemist aside, we should talk about how we can do business. Obviously, you have access to illicit substances in quantity and are having issues with bad distributors. If you don't already sell here on Silk Road, I'd like you to consider becoming a vendor." Later on March 26th, Red and White responded, "If you can get Friendly Chemist to meet up with us or pay us his debt, then I'm sure I would be able to get people in our group to give this online side of the business a try." On March 27th, DPR wrote back, "In my eyes, Friendly Chemist is a liability, and I wouldn't mind if he was executed. I'm not sure how much you already know about this guy, but I have the following info and am waiting to get his address." DPR provided a name for Friendly Chemist and stated that he lived in White Rock, British Columbia, Canada, with a wife and 3 kids. DPR added, "Let me know if it would be helpful to have his full address." Meanwhile, after not hearing anything back from DPR since March 20th, Friendly Chemist sent a message to DPR on the 29th, stating, "You leave me no choice. I want 500K USD within 72 hours, or I'm going to post all the info I have. I hate to do this, but I need the money or I'm going to release it all. Over 5,000 user details and about 24 vendor identities. What's it going to be?" Several hours later, on March 29th, DPR sent a message to Red and White stating that Friendly Chemist is causing me problems, and added, I would like to put a bounty on his head if it's not too much trouble for you. What would be an adequate amount to motivate you to find him? Necessities like this do happen from time to time for a person in my situation. Alright, so I'm going to finish this up. Sorry it's taken a while, but it's some pretty good info, so a little bit more. Here we go. After Red and White asked DPR what sort of problem Friendly Chemist was causing him, DPR responded on March 30th. He is threatening to expose the identities of thousands of my clients that he was able to acquire. This kind of behavior is unforgivable to me, especially here on Silk Road. Anonymity is sacrosanct. As to the murder for hire job he was soliciting, DPR commented that it doesn't have to be clean. Later that same day, Red and White sent DPR a message quoting him a price of $150,000 to $250,000, depending on how you want it done, clean or non-clean. On March 31st, 2013, DPR responded, don't want to be a pain here, but the price seems high. Not long ago, I had a clean hit done for $80K. Are the prices you quoted the best you can do? I would like this done ASAP. Through further messages, they agreed to a price of 1,670 bitcoins, approximately $150K for the job. Several hours later, on March 31st, Red and White wrote back, I received the payment. We know where he is. He'll be grabbed tonight. I'll update you. 24 hours later, your problem has been taken care of. Rest easy, though, because he won't be blackmailing anyone again, ever. Subsequent messages reflect that at DPR's request, Red and White sent a picture of the victim after the job was done with random numbers written on a piece of paper next to the victim that DPR had supplied. On April 5th, DPR wrote Red and White, I've received the picture and deleted it. Thanks again. Okay, and now this is the whoever wrote the warrant, some police officer. This is him speaking here. Although I believe the foregoing exchange demonstrates DPR's intention to solicit a murder for hire, I have spoken with Canadian law enforcement authorities who have no record of there being any Canadian resident with the name DPR passed to Red and White as the target of the solicited murder for hire. Nor do they have any record of a homicide occurring in White Rock, British Columbia on or about March 31st, 2013. That's it. I'm calling it there. Go for it.
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing is I don't know, maybe I didn't realize it or didn't hear one of you say it, or we just didn't say it earlier. But the whole thing about, I guess the guy who was doing it owed somebody money. So
you mean the hacker kind of person owed money? Yeah.
So like, for all we know, they said they were going to kill him unless he paid. Like, it could have been...
Oh, wow, yeah.
Easily could have been something.
That's very
like
likely what was going to happen.
Yeah, it easily sounds like...
Ulbricht just made it like, okay, I'll get... Probably the $150,000 wasn't just for killing him, it was also to pay back what Red owed him.
But that didn't even cover it. I guess it's kind of just like a settlement. Well, I'll get what I can get.
What do you mean that didn't even cover it? It said he said he needed $25,000, didn't he?
No, $500,000 was the original request.
Yeah,
and then DPR settled it to $150,000.
Yeah,
some pretty good negotiating.
So I don't know. It easily seems like that could have been what's going on, and at that point, basically, you're just saying that $350,000 is more important than someone's life. I mean, that's assuming that if he gave him the money, he wouldn't release the names. But yeah, I don't know. So there's that, which that is a big thing. Again, just going back to the government thing, I have a hard time making the distinction, I guess. Even after reading that, it makes it a little bit harder for me between him just saying, oh, they're threatening my people, so I'm just going to kill them. I mean, that's a lot of what government uses for this. But I guess, I don't know. I don't know if this is the most important thing, but going back to my original point when we first started this whole thing about how he knowingly like got into a situation. He said something in there where it was like, this is a necessity for the kind of business that I'm in or whatever.
Right.
I guess just personally, I wouldn't want to put myself in a situation where I'd have to do things like that. And I guess this what I'm going to say could probably elicit some pretty hostile reactions from some people, I guess. But I think a lot of times, I don't know, it seems like anarchists or people like that, like, try to have their cake and eat it too. Like, they're like, oh, well, we should be allowed to have drugs, so I'm just gonna, or we should be allowed to have whatever, not just drugs, but like this whole Silk Road thing. We should be allowed to sell whatever we want, however we want, to whoever we want, whenever we want, for however much we want. And like, yeah, that's fine. You can say that we should be allowed to do that, but then I don't know, it seems like a lot of times they just like expect the rest of the world to just put up with it. And it's like, you realize that people, like most of the people in the world don't believe that. Like, there's gonna be some friction, and like there's a lot of crime in this stuff because of that. You can't just expect...
Wait, a lot of crime in what stuff because of what?
In like illegal, just black markets. Just in black markets, there's all kinds of crime and stuff. I think, I don't know, I guess it's that, like, people think just because they believe that they should be allowed to do this, that they're just going to go out and do it, and they don't, it seems like sometimes they don't expect bad things to happen. And, like, yeah, you can make the argument that, well, this isn't how it should be, but it's how it is. Like, just because you should be allowed to do something doesn't mean that it's necessarily the wisest decision to do it right now. You can also decide not to do it just because of your judgment, not because you think it's wrong.
Sometimes the thing you can do is the thing you should not do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I wrote almost those exact words in my Bits and Pieces article today, John. I'm like, people have been submitting to the government for as long as it's existed, and in a lot of ways, you know, that sucks. We shouldn't have to submit. But, you know, even the hardest anarchists will obey just so they can continue to live their lives and do their work. And I said, you know, that's wise. I think it sucks, but yeah, it's wise to do what you got to do so that you can continue to function and continue to do your work and live your life without getting locked in a cage or without hurting people in this situation. So that's an important thing to think about.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
don't do stuff that you shouldn't do. Don't. It's not that hard.
Thank you, Tim. I thought I was supposed to do stuff that I shouldn't do.
No, I think that's really important though, because a lot of times it's like, I mean, it's the same with anything. You get a bunch of people who believe the same things in the same place or talking to each other, and they'll just egg each other on. And I think that happens in this too. And it's like, well, yeah, we should be able to sell whatever we want, so let's just go out and do it. Well, just because you should be able to do that doesn't mean it's a good idea to. I think because of the internet and stuff, like, these kind of ideas have been they've been getting circulated a lot more often, and you have a lot of stuff like this where it's getting bigger news, and it's kind of just like, you know, like egging people on. Like, I don't know, just maybe it's just because we've been more involved in this kind of stuff, especially since we started doing this podcast, that I'm more aware of what's going on. But it seems like there's just a lot more people talking about this stuff now than there were before, and that can be good, but it's also bad because then, yeah, you just get people circle jerking, and then...
Which is kind of what we're doing right now.
Yeah, but then you just go out...
We're doing it about it, Daniel.
Well,
this is going someplace.
My point is that even though that's not bad in itself to just, like, have conversations with people that you agree with and stuff, in cases like this, it can lead to people making bad decisions just because they get so high on whatever idea they believe in, that they don't really think about everything that's going on.
from stuff that I've read about him, it seems like Ulbricht was big into like libertarian stuff and big into like he was a contributor on the Mises online stuff. But I don't. This was the other thing is people said like he did it for like a reason, like it was to save us from all the dangerous drug dealers so we can get it safely online. I think it was just for the money. I don't think there was any like there's no problem with that. I mean, if you're the kind of person that thinks you can do that, go right ahead. Like, I respect you, I guess, I mean, dude, you made a lot of money doing that. And you did something that, he's like the biggest, like one of the biggest drug dealers ever. Like, or at least, anyway, yeah, what, Daniel?
Well,
Sorry.
I don't know. This is tough because, I mean, I want to support Ross. I think it's a good idea to support him.
Why do you think it's a good idea to support him?
Just because I don't think he deserves to be punished for running a marketplace.
Okay.
Whether he did or didn't, I don't think he deserves to be punished for running a marketplace. But it is tough because what you just said, Tim, is how people were like, oh, he saved us from all the dangerous drug dealers. Well, you could have saved yourself from the dangerous drug dealers by just not buying drugs.
Yeah.
And so...
I don't like it when people make these things into doing it for the best reasons. I don't believe in capitalism because I think people do it for the best reasons. I believe in capitalism because I believe that people screw each other over. And I don't believe in it's not because of people are so good and great. I mean, he wanted to make money. I don't think what I'm saying is like, even if you want to make that argument, I don't think he started out trying to say, like, oh, I need to make sure people don't get killed when they want to go get their brick of heroin.
Right. That's true. I want to back up a second. You said that how does people screwing people over make capitalism better? Or why is that?
Not screwing. I shouldn't have said that's a weird way. That's not the best way of putting it. That's my, that's hearing popular culture and their liberalism bleeding into my language. God damn it! I need to read more Mises.
Well, I think
I need to start reading Spooner
is
again.
what you're saying. Is what you're trying to say is like people obviously are greedy and they want money. So in a capitalistic system,
you step all over each other. Not
right,
like
but
that doesn't have to be in a wrong way. I mean,
right.
It's just like you're cutthroat business.
I guess, yeah. But I think the point is in capitalism, people want that money so bad that in the end, they'll do the right things. They'll innovate. They'll do better things to get that money.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying like I believe in capitalism because of what Wall Street does. I'm saying I believe in capitalism because you want that money more than your competitor. It's like, say you open some kind of a store, another kind of store, same kind of zero sells the exact same stuff, opens 2 streets down. You both are going to compete.
Right,
to drive the other one out. And it doesn't matter no matter what you do.
Okay, so that's what you meant by screwing people over. Like,
that's what I was saying.
Shop A will screw Shop B by selling a better product. That's how you screw people over, is by selling a better product.
Yeah, it's like a board game. The entire point is to fuck over your friends. And normally, like, with the people I tend to play with, the last few times I've played, there's always cheating, but it's not supposed to. But like, you still,
Well, I do love this conversation, and it's.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. I was worried that you didn't.
Well, no, it's something that, that was a tough thing to think about when I first considered it, and it's good to talk it through. And I don't know if. I suck at reaching final decisions on stuff like this, but it's still good to talk it through and think about the ins and outs of everything. But anyway, I want to close the episode pretty much the same way the courtroom was closed. This is a little bit more from that Wired article. "This is not the end," Ulbricht's mother said loudly as he was led out of the courtroom. "Ross is a hero," shouted a supporter. So that's how that ended. And we'll see where it goes in the future. I heard there's going to be appeals. There's going to be a sentencing trial.
Well, there's always,
Yep. We'll keep an eye on it and hope for the best. Anything else?
Oh, just that when we were looking at the one article, I did see an article. If you're interested in the Silk Road vendor that testified in the trial, you can look that up. The Wired has an article about that.
Okay.
And it has testimony from it.
Yeah, I'll add it in the show notes. Thanks for listening to episode 59. All of the music in today's show was from John Stuart. Remember to check out this week's show notes at youmeandbtc.com and leave us a comment, letting us know what you think of these moral questions. We'll see you next Thursday.